Alex, are you running it? So let's call this meeting to order at 7:02. And the first item on the agenda is vote on minutes for March 10th, 2026. So the minutes that Joanne had sent to us the other day.
And only the ones that for open session. Honestly, none of them have very much substance on them. They weren't like very, so I think, I'm sorry, it's just taking me a minute to
Sure.
get to the minutes. So let's do March 10th first, right? And the 10th one, basically all that was on there was the change by Lynn where I had a backslash instead of a period. And then we went into executive session on March 10th. It was those minutes. So do we want to?
Yeah, so would somebody make a motion? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And calling the vote for approval? All right, thanks. And looking around, seeing no one here for public comment, we will move right.
Wait, we have to do one more. We have to do the 17th,
Okay.
I'm sorry. And that one, all we did was call the meeting to order and then go into executive session.
Okay.
So I have everyone was here, so everyone is logged in.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you.
And now for the vote. Both sets of notes are approved. And again, just repeating, nobody is here for public comment, and we can move on to the director's report.
So this set of notes for my report this month is also a little bit thin, just because I have been sort of in motion quite a lot in the last month and a half. I will say that we were quite busy. In any case, we actually were a little lower than last year in terms of items circulated, but that was still close to 5,500 items going out, that's still, by any measure, that's gangbusters for us. Patron count was actually up by almost 20%, 18% over March of last year, so that was pretty remarkable. I'm not exactly sure what to attribute that to specifically, but maybe it was just people with cabin fever wanting to get out after during a long winter. But that is what's interesting to me looking at this is that with the average, again in real terms for us, the average patron visits per day is averaging for March averaged 130 people per day. That is again a remarkable number that we've never seen before. And so, we're busier than ever. Obviously, we're kind of working with a hand tied behind our back, when the patron numbers are through the roof like that, but we don't have any sort of corresponding, increase to mitigate it with. So I will just say that it's been busy here. Draft budget, obviously, most of you were at the Finance Committee meeting, thought that went well. I have not heard anything related to the budget as it relates to the library specifically. Stated to public libraries, we received our first of 2 installments to the Treasurer's Office, 8428. That's going to be about $16,000 for the year. So mention the library roof. I don't really want to get into this, too deeply, but we have noticed again in the same area, the same vulnerable area, we have noticed a couple of new spots where water is coming in. Of course, we don't know the path that water is traveling. We don't know if it's coming through the roof or it's coming through flashing.
I was on the phone with Patrick when it happened.
Yeah.
Would you describe the area in the library where it is happening?
It's in the area. Is
it near
the
the
roof?
history room?
It's the roof above my office area and areas adjacent to that. So the local history room and the staff staff office. So, those are the areas that we've seen signs. I did speak to Jennifer Sanders James today about possibly in the next month or two trying to get a meeting together with Scott McCarthy and just to talk about this, to kind of keep it on the front burner and try to come up with something that we then could approach the select board with as far as some sort of a solution, either a comprehensive solution or a stopgap solution, but something to make sure that where we're seeing an active problem, that we're addressing it and that the problem doesn't get worse. So stand by for more information on that, but I really was just kind of going over there to get her feedback, as she is also she's the procurement officer in town, so I kind of wanted to talk to her about how it would go with something like this, where the project would have, presumably have to go out to bid. It would be a big enough thing that we would have to go out to bid. And I'm not necessarily talking about an entire roof fix, but possibly just the area that is vulnerable right now. Lead update, there is no update other than to say I did contact Phil again, CC Jack on that, and Phil got back to us and said that they are struggling with coming up with enough points to satisfy the lead requirements. And the reason they're struggling is because of the absence of the PV array on the roof, the solar panels on the roof, because that is not there, which was kind of part of the strategy for getting to certification. They're saying that seems to be hurting them. So I don't know what we can really do about that, and we're going to try to push them to come to a conclusion one way or the other about it. And I don't really. Yeah.
So jumping in on this, it's my understanding that there's different tiers: gold, silver, bronze, in different ways that we might qualify for sort of one of the bottom tiers.
If we were only ever going to be in the bottom, that was really where we were meant to be.
Was it your understanding that we were in the bottom with solar panels or without?
I believe with panels.
Does it make any difference in terms of, you probably don't have the answer to this, but I mean, aren't we, if the town gets the solar panel farm up on the landfill area, then we are gaining our electricity from that source, and therefore it's the same as having solar
I
panels.
think it's my understanding that that would be too much of a stretch. I think that they would need the panels on this building.
And at this point, panels are completely out in terms of what we do, or?
No, it's just that the roadblock again has been putting something on a roof that
Right.
may need, to be repaired, replaced, updated somehow. That's been the hurdle.
This is a lot of what ifs, but if we do replace the whole roof, do we know if the amount we get from LEED would cover the cost of the solar panels? Like, would it be a wash? So that the solar panels might be.
You'd need to
net-
see the bid on all of that.
Yeah.
Also, tax credits have changed dramatically on solar panels over these last few years. So who knows how they would discount them.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, if memory serves, the amount that we would get for the rebate for the incentive grant or whatever it is for LEED would have been 100,000. So, and that would have probably covered the cost of the panels themselves, but it's not going to go much further than that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
To address anything else.
Put in solar panels, that's not a lot at all.
But once we define, this is again the territory of what ifs, but if we can zero down to where it really is leaking and get that fixed without redoing the whole roof, which we can't afford. Isn't the southern side, the part that's leaking isn't the part on which one would probably place solar panels, is it?
this is true, but I think that, the concern is that
I know
if
there are
there's
other
a
problems.
fundamental design flaw, and it's just that one part that's more vulnerable just because, I don't know, I mean, that is on the north side of the roof, it may be subject to ice dams, it may be subject to greater stress than the south side where things melt more quickly and in the winter. I just think that we're putting ourselves in a position that we don't want to be in should something go wrong with the roof. And obviously we've done the Gale assessment, and if we take the Gale assessment at face value, they're saying
There were a lot of things right there.
you wouldn't want to do this because you're going to have problems.
So, I didn't realize, or that we had already decided the roof was not something we could afford. I thought we kind of had the whole thing on the back burner.
I had no idea.
We don't
I just
know,
threw that-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that hasn't,
okay.
yeah, that
Yeah,
hasn't
okay.
been determined.
I just
Okay.
threw that out there.
That's okay, I just was
Big.
clearing.
And to be fair, we don't have, we have what Gale gave to us as far as,
Right,
as far as
right.
estimate.
Right,
It's,
You are right, Joanne. It's to be determined on
Right.
what we do with the roof.
One more question, weird question. Is there any space at which one could mount panels without being on the roof?
well, that's a good question, and
I mean, you have that
that's,
side kind of southern facing part of, if you want.
Yeah, with the
that belongs to
buildings.
the Senior center, I don't know, I'm just putting it out there.
right, I mean, there are examples of, of panels that are freestanding, that are, there's some that are covering parking lot. I mean, UMass has a bunch of
Right.
those that sort of sit over parking spaces and
we
parking
did
lots.
that at our
Should look,
house.
yeah.
We created
A canopy
a
system.
canopy
Canopy
system,
system.
and then we park our cars under it at our house.
Whether we could do such a thing in this, this is, it's the historic district, whether or not that would fly is another question, but
Yeah.
technologically there are possibilities.
The cost of creating those structures
Mhm.
to put that on, like they have, well, at your house or at UMass, that's where I think of the massive arrays, is really so much more money than just being able to put it on the
Yeah,
roof.
yeah. I'm just saying, there are possibilities here that we have not explored. Whether they're affordable or not is another question.
I guess we don't have the land. I was gonna say it would create a nice pavilion. What we did would also be a beautiful pavilion for the library for outdoor events.
In certainly a sheltered, covered area, yes.
Right,
exactly.
like, we could have like a multi-use, but we don't have the land for that, right?
Well, unless you could actually build it on the center walkway. And
Yeah, we get ahead of ourselves.
we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but that would be an option. Wayne?
Has there been any resolution of who's going to pay for repairing the roof?
Resolution, no. I mean, we've gone to the town and consulted the town council, and they're speaking to the select board as far as what they think is appropriate. But then, I mean, the trustees are not in a position to take legal action against anyone. I think that's a select board issue, and the town council is not bullish on pursuing it.
Can we nudge them a bit? This has been a long time since we had.
Well, I'm saying
Well,
they don't see it as a
Their recommendation is it's a fool's errand. It would cost so much in legal expenses, and there's not really a strong case to be made.
Wow. They
And
don't consider the case strong.
There's so many points. I don't think it's that, my understanding is not that the case is strong, it's like who's at fault is where it's very convoluted, right? Because there's so many layers of fault.
Oh.
And it's also hard to define who's responsible.
Right, that's kind of,
Yeah.
Wow.
It's frustrating, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating. It's
I-
fundamentally frustrating.
I think that one of the things I learned, and I think you might agree, Jack and Patrick, is that the way we have to build public buildings by procurement laws and the way we have to go out to bid doesn't leave much room for you to have a choice in who you take. So you have to take the lowest bidder unless you can find some like loophole, like some, you check their references and they absolutely have these terrible references. But otherwise, you have to take the lowest bidder. And in our case, our lowest bidder was someone who's never built a building around here before. And as far as I can see, went right back to Connecticut and hasn't built around here again, right? So their investment in our area was minimal, right?
I
But
get that
we-
from the job that they did.
Yeah, so
I'm just
it's
concerned
like,
about, are they not responsible for what they did?
The issue
Well,
is, again, that
the architect, like,
right, the general contractor can say, we just built what the designer gave us. These were the specs, and we built it to these specs. And, an argument can be made that there was a lack of oversight. There's plenty of fingers to be pointed, and once it goes before a jury or a judge, it's going to be hard to.
Wayne, it's an endless loop of finger pointing.
Sorry.
Designers
No, it's okay.
or
You
builders.
don't
No,
have to
no,
ask.
no. It's an important issue for sure with the library. But again, to prove that and to get money back is not, it's
It's-
almost impossible.
it's a shame. It seems like there are just people who make money off of building. I mean, my husband did some work at the Jones Library recently, and he said when he was talking to the Jones Library folks, they were talking about all the problems that came when they built their first extension, and they had no recourse either. So it's almost like, people know that. I hate to say that, but I feel like it might be a known thing,
I thought we got a lot of information and a very costly study.
Yeah.
Which I thought identified the problems very clearly, but I guess.
It identifies the problems, but it doesn't necessarily identify the
Right.
culprit.
Yeah.
And that was not necessarily what we hired them to do.
And that's well said. And that's a critical point for a judge to rule on. You can't necessarily define it to one particular group.
So I would just like to, again, kind of say it remains an open conversation because, again, the select board needs to make a decision about, what they direct town council to do or not to do. But as of right now, no decision has been made. So it's still pending.
Wow.
But I think because we're living in the real world with, a real condition that could be deteriorating that we just can't ignore, we're going to have to come up with some suggestions for how to proceed, and then work with the town administrator's office, work with the select board to come up with solutions for addressing it. I think one part of the solution is going to be that we have an apparatus for fundraising for capital fundraising through the Hadley Library Fund, which was how we did fundraising initially to build the library. We still have money in that fund, so we have some resources to work with, but it's going to be a little from column A, a little from column B, as far as how we go about addressing it. And we're going to be actively fundraising because fundamentally, what the library has brought to the table for the town, I believe, is positive. This is in spite of the problems, I think every building. I mean, I have not talked to anybody in a library that's gone through a renovation or a new construction project that hasn't had some problems. I don't think there is such thing as a perfect new building. But that being said, what has been created here, I think, is by and large a huge success for the town, and that's really what we need to accentuate and concentrate on to keep people's eyes on the bigger picture that this is a success story, and there's going to have to be further investment. There always has to be some further investment. But in this case, it's, I think, very much worth it.
I'm concerned that your office and other offices with these leaks are going to be damaged. And I'd like to stop that if we can.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to do that. And we really will.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Was there anything else? I think that was more or less all I had on my report. There were a couple things that were added to the agenda that I was going to mention, but we'll just get to them when we get to them.
Yes. So we will move on to the change in timesheet approval process. You have a sense of the background of this? Because there was
Yes,
stories
to make a
told.
long story short, in the past, we used to turn in paper timesheets. Every staff member did that. I did the same thing. And whereas with all the staff, I get their timesheets, they've signed it, then I review it, I sign it, we turn it into the HR department. And with my timesheet, it was always signed by the chair of the trustees. So Lynn has been doing it. In the past year, we transitioned to an electronic payroll system. And so we're doing them online or electronically and then submitting them electronically to HR. However, there was no good way for the chair to review and authorize the timesheet. So we were printing out a paper timesheet, she was signing it, and then I was either delivering it or scanning it and sending it to the person that needed it to have it on file. It was just convoluted, and recently, because now Jennifer Sanders-James she's essentially become the de facto HR person now. I mean, talk about a person wearing a lot of hats. So she is reviewing the timesheets as they come in, and so when it came to this convoluted process of like submitting my timesheet electronically, but then also turning in a paper timesheet with a signature on it, she said, "Do you really need to be doing this?" And I said, "I mean, it's just a practice that I inherited. So we've just been doing it that way, but it doesn't need to be done that way."
So given that you have a contract, I'm sorry,
Right.
and your payment is the same,
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't we just go on, like maybe issue some kind of letter saying, we're paying Patrick as per the contract every,
Or,
Right. The only thing that changes from timesheet to timesheet or pay period to pay period is the amount of paid time off that I've used. But at the same time, I've got a pool of, I've got what I've been provided through my contract or through my longevity for, sick time or whatever. It's not, there's really nothing to,
and we're not responsible for keeping track of that anyway, the town does. Like
Right,
if you
right,
suddenly took
that's-
more time than you were entitled to, I'm not saying you're going to,
Right.
but the town would know, like it's not really our
Like
thing
HR,
anyway.
you're submitting it to HR anyway. So.
Correct.
They
yes.
review it, and they're the ones that keep track of the, allotment of time to each employee.
Right,
So,
how much time you have for vacation, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera.
so it just seemed like a streamlining process, just in the same way that we went from having to get 2 signatures on every set of bills down to just one. And there hasn't been any.
So should we, like, what does she want? Does she want like a letter from us?
I think just a vote, just,
Go.
Oh.
so
Okay.
can you put forth what she's looking for?
she's simply looking for the practice of providing a signed timesheet to just that the signature is no longer required and that the electronic submission is adequate.
This is for the director, you're still.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be reviewing, I'll
Yeah.
continue to review the stuff.
Well, I move that we no longer have to approve the director's timesheet, that it be submitted electronically to HR.
Second.
And let's call the vote. All right, on that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Unanimous.
saw her hand go up.
Yeah, I did. It was quick. I'm kind of tight.
Great.
So Patrick, the next thing on the agenda is the July 4th holiday discussion.
Yeah, so the July 4th weekend this year, July 4th itself is on a Saturday, I believe. Let's see. Yes, so the actual July 4th calendar date is Saturday. When a official holiday falls on a Saturday, the day that staff are given off is Friday. If it's on a Sunday, then the day that's, that we close is Monday. So the question was raised, because we were going to be closed on Friday, I think the staff question was, are we able to be closed on Saturday because it's the actual 4th of July? And it wouldn't be like a paid holiday. People would have to take,
They would have to
own
take vacation time.
Yeah.
Wait, so which would they have to take vacation time for?
The
for
Thursday.
Saturday, for the Saturday.
Oh,
Even though it's
fourth.
a national holiday?
Shouldn't they have to take vacation time for Friday?
No,
Or
because
we
Friday
should
is the
close
day.
Saturday?
Well, everything's, this is the day that the town officially on the books, like, it's
It's
just,
taking
that's the
Friday.
official holiday. That's the official paid holiday of the town.
Oh, okay, I see, sorry, slow to get there.
Right. Because most people are 9 to 5 in a Monday through Friday context, that we are not.
Well, it seems silly to be open on the 4th, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was the viewpoint, that was the staff viewpoint on that, just because it's a holiday weekend and nobody will be around and.
So close Sunday too.
We're always closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this would be sort of like, when this happens at, Christmas or whatever, that kind of thing, where people are like, do we have to be open that day? So I didn't think it was an unreasonable request, but it's ultimately up to you folks, and people will use the time that they have or make it up.
Are we still be on their vacation time? We can't just say it's a national holiday.
Well, because they're getting paid, they are
Yeah.
getting paid for a day off,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
just, it happens to be
Now
on
we're saying
Friday.
it's Saturday enough. I mean, I know they're gonna be off on Friday, but they're basically getting paid for that Friday that they're off, so they would take Saturday on their own.
Vacation time,
Cheat,
yeah, right.
Okay. I move that the library remain closed on July the 4th, 2026.
Second.
And let's vote.
She
All
voted.
set?
I
Yeah,
saw.
okay, gotcha. Thank you.
It's our 250th.
It's
Yeah.
going to be a
Oh,
big
I
year.
forgot about that, yes,
Yeah.
it's a biggie.
The Pope will be in Italy. No,
No, he's going to be on
yes,
the
in
island.
Italy, on
On
the island.
Yes.
What? I don't, it's just.
It's a long
Well,
story.
Okay, never
We'll
mind.
tell you later.
Yes.
Okay.
And that brings us to moving on our lead application. And Patrick, one thing I will offer is next week is my school vacation. If you want to meet on it, or if we want to try to do a phone call with Phil O'Brien and just say, what can we do to move this forward? I'm happy to do that. Sometimes a phone call is more effective than a letter, because
Sure.
we've also had some emails going back and forth.
I'm certainly willing to do that. I'll remain hopeful that we can get some thing from him, but I mean, I think,
Yeah, part of the challenge in all this is it really needs to be done before May 1st. And time is tight.
When
so
is-
we don't lose the money though. I mean, there is a deadline. It's going to be in the current fiscal year, but if, the funding is not, funding would just move to another fiscal year.
Well,
like if we were to get
Yeah,
everything.
we don't lose the money, but this is also money that we can use.
Well-
And the sooner the better. And also closing this is very much an open item from the construction.
Absolutely.
Julie?
Oh, I'm sorry, where is Mr. Sullivan? Where does he?
Somerville.
Somerville? Yeah.
In Massachusetts?
So, yeah,
Okay.
Boston.
Sullivan?
Somerville.
Somerville.
Sullivan, she asked where Sullivan is.
Oh,
Sullivan's
I'm sorry,
in
who is
East
it that's
Hampton.
involved in this?
Phil O'Brien.
Oh,
right,
The
right,
design.
Right, Sullivan's
Yes.
in Northampton, right.
Yeah,
yeah.
I knew them, yeah, okay, O'Brien.
So, yeah, I mean, if there's something that we can do, but I think, the ball is in his court to like give us suggestions. I don't, his message was brief and slightly opaque. So I don't know what to make of it. If he had some, brilliant suggestion, if you could only add another receptacle for eyeglasses, we would certainly do it. But so far it hasn't been enough. I don't know what else, if he tells us, we could try it. So we can certainly give it a shot.
If you knew the fellow from the construction of this library, that's such a perfect description. So thank you. Let's try it. And I believe we can do this in public meeting on approving the director's contract. Did you see the message from Lynn about printing out two
I
copies?
have copies printed if you
Alright.
would like to sign them. And her suggestion was to get to sign 2 copies of it, and we'll provide one to
To
Jennifer
HR?
at Town Hall.
Yeah.
I guess we'll keep one on file here.
Do you know if some of the edits have been made, the top line, things like that? It's a one-year contract.
Yes. 26 to 27. Yeah, that looks
Good.
correct.
Yeah.
Signatures on the back. It's on the last page there.
Now, with how this works, do you need everyone's signature, or do you need a majority signature, set of signatures?
It's a good question. There's a line for everybody, but I don't know. What do you think of that?
I would think a quorum, a majority of signatures would be
Let's
sufficient.
try it.
Let's try it.
What could happen, yes.
Don't ever say
I
that.
know.
Do you need a pen, Joanne?
I made sure I grabbed one and brought one in, and I thought, I don't need one because I'm taking minutes on here, but then I thought,
I might borrow
I don't know.
one. Thank you, Wayne.
Joanne and I have this pen thing going.
And we will need a record of this to include with the minutes, is that
I didn't
right?
get my name right, but that's okay.
Can you scan it in, and then we can just put it with the minutes?
Yes.
We'll put it right in that drive. Is that- Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, we can do it right this
Hold on, is this-
I have a question that's unrelated to the contract, is that okay? Is this an okay time to ask?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that it was brought up at the last meeting maybe, or a few meetings ago, and I don't remember the outcome. Are we no longer allowed to conduct any business that's not on the agenda? Like, there used to be a thing where you would say, items not, like, so say I come to this meeting and I want to say something.
The lawyer for the town, when she had her information session a few weeks ago, she said that should be removed from agendas. That should not be included.
So say we want to just bring something up to our fellow trustees, we can.
You would need to resubmit the agenda, and hopefully there's time.
Is this, even if it's something that doesn't require a vote?
Yeah, isn't there always a thing that says other items as?
They want that off. That's why I'm asking
Yes.
the question.
Right. They were very concrete in how they were setting it up. Anything that should be discussed should be on the agenda, and
Okay.
that's what they were saying.
That makes sense to me.
Okay, then I won't ask my question.
In some
Can
ways,
you give us a hint what it was about? Now we're
I'm
like,
not doing it anyway.
we'll see next month. Yes.
Yeah.
it's a long wait.
Hanging.
Yeah, cliffhanger.
Can you just double check and make sure everything's in order with that contract?
And you have to sign as well.
Very important.
Good catch. And I wonder if you see Lynn in the next few days. Is Aubrey's name printed on there as well?
Yes.
So it's kind of confusing because Audrey's name is on here, but Wayne signed appropriately because there was a line. But when there was a line, there was no line for Wayne. Do you see what happened?
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, I know why he signed
some
there. I don't know the
lines.
same
Well,
thing.
the lines were all below.
They were all, they were
No.
all offset, yeah.
No, you just had no line.
Well, I'll take offense. I read into the minutes that I take offense I didn't have a line to sign.
Well,
I think I've lived through that.
I believe that this question is appropriate now. Is your contract always for 1 year or not necessarily?
We had a
No.
3-year contract.
This is a one-year contract in this case, but normally it's previously been 3 for like the last 3.
Okay.
Is that true? Last 3 go-rounds, is that how many they were?
So why is this different?
Because the money situation is so complicated. That
Well,
would be
just
my guess.
the current budget situation
Yeah.
being what it is, it did not seem like anyone had the wherewithal to know what could be done over 3 years. There was no predictability in the town's finances right now, so we just said, like, let's just do like a stopgap for 1 year. I mean, that was my suggestion personally, because I didn't think that this was the time to do a comprehensive kind of, you know.
Well, and it may be that this current year also needs to be a 1-year contract. And this upcoming year might need to be a 1-year contract just because there's so many things that are to be determined.
You've got a sense of it after this next vote on the budget. See if things have changed.
Well, I guess we have to adjourn.
Yes, we do. So at
Answer time.
7:37,
I move that we adjourn.
yeah, at 7:37, let's do a vote. for adjournment.